Hello, this video is not sponsored. I bought this little guy for about $14 US. I've seen its price all over the place, from between $5 and $7, not including shipping, to as high as $25, including shipping, from overseas. As of the recording of this video right now, I'm looking at it at $19 on Amazon. But just a few days ago, it was sitting at $16, where it had been for a few weeks. So we'll talk more about the price, but that's kind of the range. Again, I paid $14 for mine, and that included shipping at the time. But I strongly recommend, if you see it for a ridiculously expensive price, that what feels expensive, yeah, just keep looking. If you really want it, keep looking. Don't overpay for anything, just in general. This has 236 pieces. They have at least 4 mechs from this is the Sluban. Sluban is the company. They have at least 4 mechs in this exact same series. They have a bunch of different series ranging from slightly simpler to this and just a little bit smaller with less bulk to getting bigger and bigger and higher. So a lot of different ranges out there at different price points. Again, this one has 236 pieces. I think the next step up has around 350. They've got a next step up above that has like 550, and then it goes up even higher than that. Interestingly, this one actually comes with a minifigure as well. It's presently seated in there. And I feel, so I've done a review of a Sluban mech before, one of their larger ones. And the biggest issue that it had was that it was not able to hold the weapon up. Now, this weapon is not brick built. It's mostly just one single piece. This is a painted piece. It's not injection molded. So you see, this right here is injection molded gold. This right here is painted gold. And some of the shinier pieces, as you can see there, a nice painted gold, which is it's fairly consistent. Yeah, just in the hue and everything. And down here again, injection molded. So you can tell the difference is slightly different color. But, this is mostly one piece. And as a result, it's fairly lightweight. And as a result, this has no problem holding it up. Maybe the wrist joint could have been a little bit stronger, but yeah, I think overall, it's fine this time around. So we've already passed the one thing that was worst on the bigger mech that I tried. This, as you can see, has the articulation at the waist, which is pretty decent for its size. It's got a good range of motion for the upper arms here, with the use of ball joints, and then ball joint for the elbow as well, which gives probably more gives probably more articulation than you're supposed to have, because you're able to do things that aren't anatomically correct, overextend and stuff like that. And then a ball joint up here as well for the arm. The arm is able to hold something the size of a bar. That's it. I didn't check to see if you could possibly fit kind of a brick shape into the base of it, but through here, it's not like you're going to be able to put something with a Technic style axle in it or anything like that. This front flap is able to get out of its own way a little bit if you need to move the legs forward a little bit more. The legs have an interesting thing going on, because they've got this widening area here with these larger action figure style ball and socket joint pieces. It's a double socket piece, so it's able to spread out and essentially widen the hips that way artificially, or you can bring it in closer depending upon what you want to do. And of course, you can just do this alone. You can use that for swinging forward and back, although it does have a limited range of motion there, back and forth, just because this piece ultimately starts to hit things a little bit. No matter what, there's something that's going to be hitting there a little bit. So that's a little bit limited at that point. But then down at the knees, so these flaps can also get out of the way a little bit. At the knees, these are able to angle beyond 90 degrees right there. And then you can also bring this forward. Sorry, I didn't mean to pull that out, but this is on an additional joint. So you kind of bring that forward. Can that give me enough room to even go farther than that? No, that's not really doing that much, but it allows me to adjust the center of gravity a little bit forward and backward with that double knee joint. It's very stiff in there, but not too much. Obviously, this flap can kind of move out of its own way as well. And finally, ball joints down at the foot. Not a lot of front to back range of motion until you start to turn it, and then you're able to, I just popped it all the way off, able to access kind of just a little bit more, by using some of that side to side swivel to your advantage to help it to keep the feet flat on the ground longer, or at least have a long side flat on the ground longer. If you look at this carefully and you're familiar with brick-based building systems, there are probably some parts that if you haven't bought from this company before, you don't recognize. That's a piece that's interesting. Maybe these down here. I mean, as soon as you go outside of the core main biggest brands in the world, you start to see just so many interesting pieces and interesting part usages. That's what I enjoy the most about trying different brands, is just experimenting and experimenting with and experiencing all the different parts, the different shapes and things. I mean, even these sort of cheese slope style curves here. But it is a curve. This does use stickers. It does have some stickers over multiple, no, actually not over multiple parts, designs over multiple parts, but this one actually does not have the stickers go over multiple parts. But a bunch of small stickers that honestly really don't do a lot, really don't affect the overall look of this that much. The minifigure situation is interesting, the way that it's sat in here. It's sat in a way that I'm personally used to, but it's got kind of like a cockpit that can open up here. However, you need to remove the helmet to get some better access to that, because the helmet takes up so much space. And then as I pull this forward, it's only going so far because it's limited here at the front. So ultimately, it's probably best to just pull all of this off, unless you just want to kind of use that little bit of gap right there to get access, which is possible. It's just not the most convenient thing. I wish that they had a flap that could easily just move out of the way to get you easier full access, with absolutely nothing in the way. Oops. Yeah, I was trying to pull it as far as I could, and I just knocked a couple of these pieces off here because they just don't have the room. So access there definitely could have been a bit better. Here's a better look at that figure. Sluban figures tend to use ball joints for the hands, so it's able to move around just a little bit more than I would normally expect. The elbows are much more bent than what I'm personally used to. The overall quality here is pretty good. I'd say that the legs are just a little bit loose towards the top right there in the middle. It's not falling over, but I just wish there was a little bit more friction in that. The helmet is actually built up with multiple pieces. The outer parts here actually came on a runner, a small little part sprue or tree. Rather than cutting them out, I simply just broke them off. I just wanted to see what that would look like. So I'm not giving you kind of an artificially good, well-prepared thing. And that's why you see just a little, what we call nub marks, where the gates, the plastic pieces were connected to. That's just going to happen if you break the parts off rather than cutting them, rather than slicing them nicely. Of course, you can just use your fingernail to kind of burnish that down. You can see this also has this armor piece on the inside, but I'm not going to show you what's beneath there. You know why? Because this head is on a ball joint, so it's actually able to turn, tilt side to side ever so slightly, and also forward and back. It can move ever so slightly, but then it is attached to a neck, which is just a bar, and the bar goes all the way down and attaches inside of a tube in the hip piece. So all that is kind of locked together. If it wasn't attached down in there, you would be able to get waist articulation here. But the neck and this, they're attached so closely and so stiff that I just don't feel comfortable taking that apart and putting it back together multiple times. It's uncomfortably stiff. Putting it together the first time, you just push. No big deal. But pulling it apart, I'm worried that it's going to break in there, and that's not a good thing. So I'm just going to leave it like this, but I did want to call that out. There is a print on the torso that you're not getting to see now because of that. I really don't feel comfortable with that particular design. Some of that might just be about legalities. I know that they're getting very, very close to the trademark that's on these guys. You have to make everything different. From what I've been told by a couple people now, Sluban has managed to get their products to market in areas where they could be challenged on trademark, and they've not been successfully challenged. So I guess they're in the clear, only barely, and maybe that awkward neck piece is part of that because of its function. But I personally don't like it. Just a quick look at the sticker sheet, just so you have an idea of how many were included and how small they are and everything. Again, most of these just don't have that much of a visual impact on the thing and can easily be left off without really changing much of anything. Can I level with you? I don't feel like this is a good toy. I think it's a perfectly fine, small, inexpensive collector model for putting on display, for folks who just want to get it posed up and then just look at it and enjoy it. But it has so many small things on it. You really have to think, I think. You have to think a lot to play with it effectively, because you've got to set up multiple, you want to get it into a specific pose where it'll stand. You got to set up, move some flaps around, set up a bunch of stuff, and be aware of really, really small pieces, all these add-on things. Some of them can kind of get dislodged, if you overextend stuff. It's just, I really think if it was, I think in order to be a good toy, it would need to be simpler and even have less articulation than it does right now. At the very least, be simpler, use more larger, more specialized parts. I really feel that, because I like what they're going for here. I like how much detail it has. I like how much went into the build. That was enjoyable for me, especially for the price. Like it's a bunch of stuff. You spend some real time putting this together, and it has some really nice, interesting parts. But at the end of the day, it's mostly good for putting into a specific pose and then leaving and looking at it like that. Use it more like the way that I'd say teens and adults use action figures, or Gundams. You put it on a shelf and you enjoy having it. Every once in a while you repose it or something like that. But to actually play with as a toy or to give to a small child, I wouldn't recommend it. I would not. But there is a market for it, and I think for that market, the price is in a decent range as long as you get it for under $20. If you're looking at $20 shipped or more, I think you're overpaying, just based on what I've seen. Because like places like AliExpress, you can see it for like $5, but then you do have to factor in shipping, and shipping costs have gone up, at least into the country where I am, have gone up significantly coming from overseas over the last 5 years, and it just has taken some big jumps. That really matters quite a bit. If you like stuff like this, do your research, search around, definitely search around. Again, Sluban has this in a bunch of different styles. I think at least 4 styles for this exact same size at the exact same price. And then they have other kind of tiers of different sizes and complexity and price. But again, I don't recommend giving it to a small child unless that child is really good with models and dexterity and patience. Exceptionally so, extraordinarily so, because it's just a lot. It's just a lot. There's a lot of little stuff. So those are my honest thoughts about this. Oh, by the way, one other thing, a lot of these are not going to come with a box. I did not get mine off of Amazon. I forget which exact site I got it from, but oftentimes stuff this cheap coming from overseas is going to come just in a bag, and that's just a fairly normal practice. That might bother you if you've never experienced it before. It was no issue for me. It's just a bag full of bags with the instructions and the sticker sheet. But just be aware of that when you get down to lower price stuff, especially. That can be a thing. Thank you for watching. I hope that this video was of value to you. Please consider using one of my affiliate links in the video description if you want to buy stuff, the type of stuff that you see on this channel. Or if you're going through Amazon, it can be anything. You just click on a link. You can buy anything you want on a site within like a day or so, and it counts. And I get a small commission, which helps me to buy more stuff like this to then review for you. So thank you for helping me to keep the channel going. Bye for now.